One of the biggest questions we get about Aircrete and also domes is, are they appropriate for cold climates? But also cold climates are perfect for Aircrete. Aircrete does have insulation value, and that's the big question, how much? Insulation value is typically measured in R value. The general consensus around Aircrete, depending on your formula, it's going to be somewhere between 1.8 and 2.2 per inch. Compared to traditional insulation products like, say, foam board, that's fairly low. But when you consider Aircrete is also your structural material, it's actually a pretty good insulation value. So if you make, say, a 6-inch thick wall, that's around 12 R per inch, which is very similar to a 2x6 wall with R20 fiberglass insulation. Because in a 2x6 wall, the fiberglass insulation may be R20, but the rest of the wall brings the R value down. So it's actually a little tricky when you're comparing the R value of Aircrete to other materials, because you have to consider the entire building envelope. One thing to consider when you're building a dome in terms of R value is domes are very tight structures. They're very sealed. There's not a lot of air infiltration that happens with traditional building. Also, domes enclose the most amount of square footage with the least amount of headspace, so we're not wasting a lot of air at the top in the ceiling because there's no corners. So domes are generally quite efficient to heat and cool. And we've built domes as far north as Nova Scotia and other parts of North America. Our typical dome that we build during our workshops is a 4-inch thick wall. So that would have an insulation of around 8 R, which doesn't sound that great. But in a 16-foot diameter dome, which ends up being around 250 square feet, it's actually surprisingly easy to heat this. They stay really, really warm quite easily. If you're building your own Aircrete dome, of course you can go as thick as you want. Building with a 6-inch or 8-inch block can actually be easier in some cases and adds a lot of extra R value.